Great to be here with you this morning. Pastor Doug is gone today. He'll be back next week. How many of you have ever been forgotten? How many of you have, maybe if you're a parent, how many of you have left a kid somewhere and forgot to pick them up or forgot that they needed a ride? I think with all four of our kids, they each probably have an experience, a story of when we forgot to get them or forgot to bring them home. I know our oldest, Riley, he was late elementary, early middle school, and we left him here. Trina and I, we get here at different times. We take different cars, and we both got home. We don't live far from here. We both got home, and I said, "Hey, where's Rye?" And she's like, "I thought you had him." And I said, "I thought you had him." And thankfully, there's cell phones, so we called Pastor Doug, and he and Jenny had scooped him up, and they dropped him off shortly after. But I know that's a core memory for Riley. He remembers being left here. I know for Charlie, at one time, we were at a playground, and for some reason, I was coming back to pick up the brood from the playground, and Trina got into the passenger seat, and she closed the door, and I started driving off, and she said, "This is my story." She said, "I'm driving. It's obviously my fault." She said, "Charlie." And I said, "What about him?" And she said, "He's not in here." And sure enough, I look in the side mirror, and here is little Charlie running from the playground, ashen face, like life flashing before his eyes. So, yeah, that's on me. That's not on us necessarily. But yeah, if you've been forgotten, if you've been left behind somewhere, it does not feel good. It doesn't feel good for your family to not recognize you or to remember you. It certainly cannot feel good maybe if a business or a company that you do a lot of business with doesn't recognize you or doesn't, or they forget you. If you have been doing business with someplace for a while, then you all of a sudden stop and there's nothing. There's no text. There's no postcard. There's no, "Hey, we miss you," type thing. That can feel strange. I'm not proud to admit this, but we've forgotten people here at Hillcrest. There have been people who have consistently attended, consistently given and served, and then they stop doing those things. And it's a really awkward type of tension there. Do we reach out? Do they want to be contacted? Are they waiting for us to reach out to them? And we've dropped the ball. I have dropped the ball on several of those scenarios. It does not feel good to stop being a part of something and for have no one to recognize that, no one to reach out. We're wrapping up our "This Is Why We Do It" series today. And each week, each Sunday has been building on the other. Pastor Doug opened this series talking about salvation. That's where it starts for our faith journey. Week 2 was about baptism. That's one more step. That's a significant step. You have to, behind the cross here is our tank. You got to get wet and dunked, and that is a significant step. Last week, he talked about membership. One more significant step. One more step away from the sidelines to becoming more involved. And today we want to talk about serving, volunteering, becoming more connected to the life of a church. And this might be the scariest step. This might be the hardest step that we're asked to take. As hard as those first 3 are, this one impacts our rhythms. This one can impact our calendar. This one is where you step out and say, "I am committed. I belong to this place." And one of the reasons why we're maybe hesitant, or a couple of reasons of why we're maybe hesitant. Some of us have been burned before. Some of us have stepped out into church. We've been involved. We've been committed. And we got hurt. And we don't want to repeat that. We don't want to live through that experience again. Some of us are afraid of being forgotten. Like, do they really need me? And if I step up, if I show up and I get involved in the life of the church, will I just be another number? Am I actually needed here? Am I actually wanted? And I want to go back into the Old Testament and look at an event that I think will help us unpack some of these questions and really give us a roadmap for how to be more involved. If you have your Bibles, turn to 2 Samuel chapter 9. And we're going to start with verse 1. There's Bibles in the seats in front of you. We'll have the words on the screen behind me as well. 2 Samuel 9 verse 1 says this, "One day David asked, 'Is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?'" So a little bit of backstory. I mean, you nailed Revelation, so you maybe don't need the backstory here this morning. But a little bit of backstory. David is the king. He's the second king in Israel's young history. The first king is a guy by the name of Saul, and his family was supposed to be the royal family, but Saul does some things where God has to remove the throne, remove the anointing from him, and put it onto David. Saul has his son Jonathan, and Jonathan's got to be one of the most unique characters in Scripture. He's born to King Saul, and he would be heir to the throne, save for Saul's mistake. And so that, like I said, that throne, that reign passes over to David's family, and he happens to be David's best friend. One of the most, I think, unique persons in Scripture, because he's the son of the disgraced king, and he's the best friend of the guy who ends up becoming king. And at this point in 2 Samuel 9, David's overseeing all of Israel, a lot of peace, a lot of prosperity, and he gets this thought, he gets this flash to say, hey, who in Jonathan's house or in Saul's house could I reach out to and show some kindness to? Verses 2 through 4. So David summons a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. "Are you Ziba?" the king asked. "Yes, sir, I am," Ziba replied. The king then asked him, "Is there anyone alive still from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them." Ziba replied, "Yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet." "Where is he?" the king asked. "In Lo-debar," the king told him, or Ziba told him, "at the home of Machir, son of Amel." So David finds one of these servants who used to be in Saul's house, asks him, "Hey, is there anyone in this family still alive?" He's like, "Yeah, there is this one guy. He's crippled in both feet, and he's living in this remote town called Lo-debar." Now, to get some background on who this is, turn back a couple of chapters. Look at 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4. Saul's son Jonathan had a son named Mehizabeth, who was crippled as a child. He was 5 years old when the report came from Jezreel that Saul and Jonathan had been killed in battle. And when the child's nurse heard the news, she picked him up and fled. But as she hurried away, she dropped him, and he became crippled. So Jonathan has this son named Mehizabeth. And I got to be straight up honest with you. I am not saying that name right. So if you're going to quote how I'm pronouncing it, please don't. Toby, our tech director, he knew I was teaching on this week. He sent me a YouTube video that correctly pronounces it. I tried it, Toby. I tried it a few times, but still going to get it wrong. In fact, when I prepare a message, I still type out. This is old school, but I still type out a lot of what I'm going to say. Now, it's not going to match what I end up saying, but I still type out a lot of it. And on Word, every time I would type in Mehizabeth, it would get this red line underneath, like I wasn't even spelling it right. So if you look at this, it just has a capital M throughout the whole thing. So we might just call Mehizabeth M, my guy, something like that, to not have me to keep pronouncing this name. But Jonathan has this son named Mehizabeth, and when Saul and Jonathan are both killed in battle, news gets to where Mehizabeth is. And his nurse picks him up. He's 5 years old at the time. She picks him up, and they start to flee. They start to run. And somewhere along the way, she drops him. And he becomes crippled in both feet. Our family has a unique connection to this ancient biblical character. Some of you know, some of you may not know. our middle two sons, Wesley and Charlie, were both born with bilateral club feet, which means when they were born, they came out and their feet were significantly turned in, severely turned in. It required a lot of casting, a lot of treatments, a lot of medical procedures, some surgeries for their feet to open up and to become somewhat normal. Now, if you know them, they have fairly normal lives, at least their feet. They have fairly normal lives. And there are still some times where if they're on their feet a lot, they'll get sore, they'll have aches and pains when they fly, or if they're in higher elevations, it tends to affect them as well. And we knew ahead of time with both boys, due to ultrasounds and other types of technology, we knew ahead of time that they were going to have that condition coming out. Well, with Charlie, Tarina's in the hospital and she's in recovery. And by this time, it's her third kid. It's her third C-section. She's a pro. She's like, get me out of here. Get me home. I'm ready to go home. She's ready to do the thing back at the house. And the nurse comes in with Char, and Charlie is wrapped up in blankets and swaddling clothes and that type of thing. And she is anxious. She is really, really nervous. She hesitant knock on the door, comes in, and she's like, "Yeah, hi, ma'am. Hello, I've got your baby here." And Trina's all, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, "Yeah, give me my baby. Give me my baby." And she's like, "Well, I don't know." And she's really anxious. And Trina clues in. Or she doesn't know that I know. She doesn't know that I know that my baby's got these wrecked up feet coming out. And she beats her to it. Trina's like, "It's okay, hon. I know he's got club feet." And she's like, oh, good. Because I didn't want you to think that I was like Mehizabeth's nurse and that I had dropped your baby on the way into the room. And apparently both Trina and the nurse, Beth Moore, had been in town shortly before Charlie's birth, and they apparently both had been at that event, and Beth had told that story, and so they had unique connection. But no, our kids were not dropped. They came out. They came out that way. Think a little bit about Mehizabeth, though. Think of all of the things stacked against him. Not only is he crippled, he's got this physical deformity that he's got to be carried or transported by someone. So he's got that going against him. He's orphaned. He's got no dad. He's got no grandpa. He's disgraced. He's the only remaining relative from the first royal family who's now disgraced. He's in shame. He's lonely. He's in some remote Israel village called Lo-Debar, and he's waiting basically to die. That's what he's got going for him. Nothing to add, seemingly thinking he's got no value, no purpose, no hope. And some of us, we can relate to Mehizabeth because we too think ourselves have not a lot to add, not a lot of value. Some of us have our own physical conditions. Some of us have chronic pain. Some of us have chronic disease. Some of us are dealing with these types of health diagnoses that prevent us from, or at least we think prevent us from getting more connected. Some of us deal with mental health things, struggle with depression and anxiety and fear. And those things keep us on the sidelines. A lot of us say we're too busy to serve. We're too busy to get connected. That seems to be the most popular reason we give when people ask us, "Hey, do you want to come to this? Or do you want to get involved in this? Or do you want to serve at this thing?" We say, "Yeah, I would, but I'm too busy." Everyone is busy. Everyone's busy. A few things, and this is maybe a personal pet peeve, and if you do this, I apologize, but few things drive me more nuts than when we get into these busyness competitions. And someone asks you how you're doing, you're like, "Well, I'm busy," and they kind of give you their calendar for the week, and you're like, yeah, so am I. And they try to one-up you with how busy they are, and it becomes like, who's busier? Listen, everyone is busy. I know high school students, middle school students who are busier than some adults. They've got more going on day to day in terms of calendar than some of their parents. I know college-age students who are busy. I know young adults just starting their careers. They're busy. I know newly engaged, newly married couples. They're busy. I know young families who have kids still in diapers and toddlers. Goodness, they're busy. I know families who have got a kid in every level of school. They got a middle schooler, they got an elementary kiddo, they got a high schooler. They're busy. They're in all the things, all the activities. I know couples whose kids have left. Their nests are empty, or as Trina likes to call it, it's a college nest for us. I know those people are busy. I know retired people who are busy. I know people living in assisted living situations who are busy. It's not about being busy when it comes to serving. It's about prioritizing serving in the midst of your busyness. Everyone you see, most everyone you see, I would be the exception. I'm paid. So most everyone you see, though, this morning, from the people on stage to the people in the booth to the welcome center to the check-in people, the greeters, the nursery, children's ministries, youth ministry, all of those folks, they're busy. And they have just figured out how to prioritize serving in the midst of their busyness. They have figured out how to value being more involved, even though they too are busy. And so while we've got a lot going on, while we've got some reasons keeping us from getting more connected, Mehizabeth and David are going to show us what to do in those situations. Look further here in verses 5 through 8. So David sends for him and brought Mehizabeth home from Machir's, or brought him from Machir's home. His name was Mehizabeth. He was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, "Greetings, Mehizabeth." Mehizabeth replied, "I am your servant." "Do not be afraid," David said. "I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table." Mehizabeth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, "Who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me?" Now, part of me wonders if Mehizabeth thought he was being brought back to get taken out. Like, this is the last one. I got to take this guy out. And David is like, "No, I want to show you kindness. I want you to be a memory of your father Jonathan to me." And you can get an insight here. We get insight here into Mehizabeth's mindset. He calls himself what? Dead dog. I've got nothing to add. I'm not worth anything. I'm like this dead dog. And why are you bringing me back? Why do you want me to be at your table? In addition to some of the things we just went through, some of us really see ourselves as not having a lot to offer. Some of us see ourselves as not having the confidence or the ability to be able to connect or to serve. We say things like, "Well, I'm just not good at this. I don't think I could do that. I'm too young, too old, too broke, too tired," whatever that is, to get involved with God, with what God might be having me to do. Last Sunday, we had Darwin Gramstead on stage here, and he was talking about his experience with the team that went to Honduras earlier this month. And if you caught his story, one of the things he said was this theme that ran through their devotional time in the morning and evening. And the theme was this not feeling equipped, not feeling like they had what they needed to be able to do the ministry God was calling them to do. This sense of inadequacy. And the team does a wide range of things in Honduras. They're bringing water filters to people. They're doing dental work. They're doing medical work. They're sharing the gospel. There's a wide range of things happening. And it's just interesting to me that the theme was, we don't feel qualified. We don't feel confident. When we feel that, that oftentimes is the proof, the evidence of you that we are right where we need to be. If God is calling you to something, if he's asking you to get more involved, asking you to be more connected, and you sense yourself feeling, I don't have what it takes, I'm not good at it, I don't have those gifts, I'm not feeling comfortable, that is the proof, oftentimes, that you are right where you need to be. You've got to step out of your comfort zone, oftentimes, to feel and to sense what God has for you. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're not supposed to feel like you know it all. You're not supposed to feel confident 100% of the time. You're supposed to sense some of that uneasiness. That's actually the proof that you're doing what God is having for you. And I don't want to overlook King David here in this story either. Because David does something. He lives out this principle that a lot of us miss. And the principle is this: David goes first. David takes initiative. David reaches out. I mean, imagine, he's the king. Things are going well. And he gets this, I believe, this flash, this idea from God, from the Spirit to say, hey, reach out to Saul's house. Now, David doesn't have to act on that. He doesn't have to do anything with that. He can just write it on his to-do list and go, I might get to that later. But David takes action. He reaches out to Ziba. Ziba says, yes, there is. He sends for Mehizabeth. Mehizabeth is days away, so he's got to get there. But David takes action. David notices. David invites. David chooses Mehizabeth. He goes first. He picks them. I went to elementary school in the 1980s. And the way that we did recess in the playgrounds of Grand Forks, North Dakota back in the 1980s was, it really didn't matter what we were doing. We could be playing basketball, football, hockey, didn't matter. What ended up happening, though, was always the same. There'd be a group of us boys, group of us kids, and there would be two kids who were the captains. And what those captains would do is they would take turns picking from the crowd. You can imagine, if you got picked early, you felt awesome. Like, yeah, I know I got skills, I got friends, I'm doing great. You can also imagine that the later it took for you to get picked, you wouldn't be feeling so good. You'd feel discouraged. You'd feel wonder if you had any friends, if you had any abilities. And those captains had so much power on the playground to either make your day or not. They had so much power by picking and choosing who they wanted on their team. This is the 9 o'clock service on Sunday, July 26th, the day after a pretty significant storm came through, and you guys are here. And as I look at many of you today, I want to tell you that you are Hillcrest captains. You've been invested long enough, you've been here long enough, and I realize there's not an official title, no process, no application, but you are Hillcrest captains. And you have the power to go about your normal day-to-day, Sunday-to-Sunday experience, and that would be fine, but you also have the power, the opportunity to go first, to look for people, to initiate with folks that you don't know as well, to invite people to join you for coffee or to join you for lunch or to join you serving somewhere. You're now the captains. And there's people who are waiting to be noticed. They're waiting to be picked. They're waiting to be invited. And I realize it's not fair. I realize it'd be easier if they would just sign up or sign up on Church Center or take that first step. Of course, it would be easier. But at some point in your journey, someone chose you. At some point in your journey, someone noticed you and someone invited you. to be more connected with something. And for many of you here today, you're the captains. And it's on you and it's on me to go first, to pick. Let's look at verses 9 through 11. So then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said, I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and servants are to farm the land for him to produce food for your master's household. But Mehizabeth, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba replied, yes, my lord the king, I am your servant, and I will do all that you have commanded. And from that time on, Mehizabeth ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. Notice that Mehizabeth is not coming back to do anything. He's not being brought back to repair a wall. He's not being brought back to work in a kitchen. He's not being brought back to do some menial work in the city. He's literally being brought back for who he is, for his presence. He's being brought back as a reminder, as a connection to the king's best friend. He's got nothing that he's actually doing. And listen, when it comes to serving and connecting and volunteering, this is a tension. This is hard. When we get more involved, we want to be able to do something. When we get more involved, we want to be able to say, yeah, I did this, or we did this, or I made a difference here, or we actually did something. We accomplished something. And as someone who has put together serving opportunities for people, it's frustrating. I'll admit, it's frustrating when there's not enough to do. It's frustrating when you give of your time and give of your effort and you come out and you just kind of stand around. I don't like that. You don't like that. We had Hillcrest Serves a couple of weeks ago. One of our opportunities fell through at the last minute. We had a bunch of people here for the food distribution. There were too many volunteers for the stations that we have, and Trina and I are scrambling on the inside here, and we got people painting and people doing some other things, but there still was not enough to do. If you came out for that, if you were someone that came out for that, and you're like, I shouldn't have come out, there wasn't anything for me to do. I get that. I don't like that. But Mehizabeth shows us that volunteering and serving and connecting are more than just what you do. They're more than what we just accomplish. Because Mehizabeth isn't doing anything. Sometimes your presence is the gift. Sometimes the gift is you. Sometimes it's you just showing up and standing around doing nothing. That is actually an incredible gift. There's only one of you. There's only one of you that's got your unique personality and talent and experiences. There's only one of you that finds certain things funny and that notices different things and that has skills that other people don't have. But there's only one of you. And when you show up to serve and when you show up to connect, you make that event different. You change that whole experience just because of your presence, just because of your name, just because of the words that you say or the words that you hear. And yeah, if we get to do something great, if we get to help someone, super. But your presence makes serving more memorable. Your presence allows serving to feel different. Your presence might be the thing standing in the way between two people connecting and getting to know each other because their connection is you. And when we talk ourselves out of becoming more involved, when we say we're too busy, when we say we're feeling this, when we say I have that, When we say I'm not really needed, when we say I'm a dead dog, we're robbing the rest of the group from experiencing us. Your presence is a gift. It's a gift to so many. And I want you to share that with people here as you get more involved. Let's see how this wraps up for Mehisabeth here. Verses 12 and 13. Now Mehisabeth had a young son named Micah. From then on, all the members of Ziba's household were Mehisabeth's servants. And Mehisabeth, who was crippled in both feet, lived in Jerusalem and ate regularly at the king's table. Mehisabeth has this young son named Micah. Did you catch that? Mehisabeth found love. He found someone. And he has a kid. And I can't guarantee that if you're single and you serve with us that you're going to find your soulmate. I also can't guarantee that it won't happen. But look at the trajectory of his story. He's left for dead, wallowing in shame, wallowing in self-pity. If there's a woe is me character, it's Mehisabeth. And David notices, takes initiative, brings him back. And somewhere along the way, Mehisabeth has a son that passes on King Saul's lineage, and Jonathan's lineage, and his own lineage. And he's recorded in Scripture for all of history. Someone that thought he was a dead dog, no value, nothing to add, makes it to the Scriptures. I love this story because it illustrates for me, and I think for us, what's possible when the church is the church. When the church is at its best, when we're at our best, we notice, we invite, we recognize, we go first. We don't wait for people to invite us. We don't wait for permission to do something, but we instead take that initiative. And we look for the Mehisabeths in our community. We look for the Mehisabeths in our neighborhood. We look for the Mehisabeths in our workplaces and in our schools. And we do what we can to connect them to Jesus. Please stand and sing this last song.